I'd like to welcome you to the President's General Assembly, the 2016 version. I would like to ask you to stand as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a great way to always start the school year with Dr. Westbrook and Ben Charles. Just met Ben and our extraordinarily talented students from the Sound and the Fury. And let me tell you that if you do not go to a football game or if you do not go to a basketball to see these students, they truly are as spirited and have as much fun as any group of students I've ever seen anywhere. And so thank you folks so very, very much for all you do for us. Well, let me begin too by saying welcome to the 2016 academic year and certainly to today's General Assembly. I have to pause and at least make this one comment because of the rain that we experienced for many of us on the way to the Thompson Student Center and then on the way back. You know, creativity and ingenuity in action with Ricky in our maintenance shop, coming up with a very interesting temporary ramp, if those of you didn't see that, pulling the golf carts up. And so, Ricky, I don't know if you're out there, but my thanks to you and whomever it was that came up with such a creative idea and such a creative solution on short term. Great, great job. Well, let's thank Ricky, okay? For those of you who have dry feet right now. Well, today I want to talk to you about really two big topics as we begin the academic year, because these are going to be some things that we're going to have to spend a fair amount of time, and I think have the privilege to spend a fair amount of time focusing on this year. One is student success. Many of you have been involved and have heard many of these conversations in the past. And the second one is a very unique event, and that is the centennial celebration of Tarleton State University as a member of the Texas A&M University. So let me begin with something that I expect most of you all have heard more times than you might have wanted to, and you probably know, and that is that Tarleton will be the premier student-focused university in Texas and beyond. Obviously, that is our vision for the future, but one of the other things I hope you understand that is also our call to action. It is what it is that we need to think about, how it is we accomplish things to reach that vision statement. So at the start of an academic year, it's a good time for us all to renew our commitment to the success of each of our students. And I think it's particularly important for all of us to understand this isn't just the role of the provost sitting down here, or the deans that I see throughout the audience, the faculty, or the support groups that are part of academic affairs. This is truly a collective effort that requires all of us from every department across the university. It includes our ability to keep campuses, offices, and classrooms clean, cool, and safe. Wi-Fi, computers, and telephones working all the time, mail and packages being delivered, bills and people being paid, students housed, fed, healthy, and involved, and then clearly our parents, our alumni, and friends engaged in giving back to their university. I think you all know, but I want to reinforce this point too, that student success is not defined solely by earning credits or us handing a diploma at commencement. It is that, no doubt, but it's also a lot more than that. And for example, we don't talk as much about this, but our mission statement says this: we're developing ethical and moral thinkers, scholars, and leaders who demonstrate civility and integrity while contributing meaningfully to a global society. That's a pretty powerful statement that helps us understand what success is about. Then there are our core values. You all have heard these many times. We put them up front as truly a measure of our success in everything that we do. That's what those core values are about. And to reinforce for students that they're part of something bigger, the core values are infused in a lot of different places, in coursework, orientation, transition week, and many, many other ways throughout their time here at Tarleton. Students then, in turn, what they do is they help define the culture of our campuses. Students bring to life our traditions and the values of this university, and then it's through their talents and their efforts that our students bring honor to the university itself. And so, because students are front and center when we talk about student success, what I'd like to do is introduce to you a group of students who have contributed mightily to Tarleton Pride. They've enjoyed remarkable successes both individually and as members of a team, and they've done this both in the classroom and outside the classroom. And so, if I could have the students come on out here, please. I'll tell you what, this is a great group of students, so why don't you give them a round of applause right at the front end? Now you're going to be all the more amazed as I tell you about these. You know, Coach Jerry Don Doyle's Texan golf team won its 9th conference and regional championship in 10 years. 9th in 10 years. That truly is a dynasty when you're talking about any athletic team. And one of the keys to the success of the coaches' teams is Isabella Jimenez Perea, right here. Isabel is the Lone Star Conference's only 4-time golfer of the year and the conference female athlete of the year, a first for Tarleton State University. She is also the Women's Golf Coaches Association National Division II Player of the Year, and she's a candidate for the 2016 NCAA Woman of the Year. And she graduated in May and was a member of the Dean's List. Isabella Jimenez Perea. Thank you so much. Coach Ponder's women's cross-country team won the Lone Star Conference Championship, and then in the spring he sent 16 student athletes to the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. They brought home 11 All-American honors. Allie Conklin here, wave Allie, who was not only the Lone Star Conference cross-country champion, but faculty, you will appreciate this, she was also the conference's cross-country academic runner of the year and the academic Player of the Year. Congratulations, Atlas. Now, for the first time in program history, Coach Mary Schindler's volleyball team won the Lone Star Conference Championship. Congratulations, Mary. And one of the most talented athletes to ever have played at Tarleton, and she looks short next to Jakob Damstra up there, is Haley Roberts. Haley was named, Haley was named the Lone Star Conference Offensive Player of the Year, the South Central Region Player of the Year, and a first-team All-American. Haley also is a member of the Dean's List, and the really good news for us is she is just starting her junior year. Haley Roberts. Now, from Coach Reisman's regional basketball championship team, 2 years in a row, we have Jakob Damstra, down the road from Dublin, Ohio. Welcome, Jakob. Jakob was a 4-year letter winner in the Lone Star Conference's Academic Player of the Year. But listen to this, not just this past year, but 2 years in a row. And Jakob graduated in May as well, and he is heading to medical school to specialize in orthopedic surgery. That is one talented young man. Jakob Damstra. Now, you need to understand that, yes, these are extraordinary athletes, but our students are not just student athletes. Tarleton's powerhouse aeronautical team, advised by Steve Merwin over here, and Bo Bronner, placed third in the NASA-sponsored Student Launch Centennial Challenge in Huntsville, Alabama. The team is up here today represented by Grant Gregory, a sophomore in mechanical engineering and technology, Jordan Dorneck, a sophomore in electrical engineering, and Kobe LaRue, a senior in computer science. This team took home a $10,000 prize in April from the competition at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. Congratulations, aeronautical team. Thank you for representing us so well. And believe me, they beat the likes of a lot of engineering universities that have extraordinary name recognition. Next, we have the Tarleton Trumpet Ensemble under the direction of Dr. Brian Walker. They were one of 25 in the United States selected to compete in the prestigious National Trumpet Competition. But with a team of undergraduates, they were competing against many universities with graduate students, making their selection into that exclusive competition all the sweeter. Representing the trumpet ensemble today is Matt Daigle, Olivia Perkins, and Kara Roden. Congratulations, guys, and thank you. Dr. Troy Robertson and 53 student members of the Tarleton Chamber Choir performed magnificently in Carnegie Hall on Easter Sunday, and I can tell you that for a fact because I was there. They received a standing ovation from an extraordinarily appreciative audience. Cassie Goodwin is down there, and Cassie is with us to represent the entire 53-member choir. We thought that might be a little tough up here. And she's going to come back and join 14 members of the Chamber Choir student members today to perform at the end of the General Assembly. Then finally, at the Texas Intercollegiate Press Association Conference in April, Tarleton student journalists from the Departments of Student Publications and the Department of Communication Studies brought home an amazing 38 awards for the yearbook, 2 student newspapers, and TV news programs. Savannah Baxter down there, co-editor-in-chief of the Grasper, is with us to represent that entire group today. And if you haven't seen the Grasper, it's a centennial edition, and it is clearly, I think, the best yet. So congratulations, Savannah, and to all the recipients of those awards. So as you can see here, in a variety of ways, and certainly across a variety of different kinds of disciplines, these students have reached excellence in a remarkable way. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please acknowledge, thank, and congratulate these remarkable students. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Make
having
us proud. Thank you. Thank you guys so very much. Well, so that's the best part of the program, guys. As you would well expect, right? How can you do anything other than admire those kind of incredible accomplishments? Now, before I start to talk about student success more specifically, that was your visual example of student success. What I'd like to do is introduce a few people who joined the Tarleton leadership team over the summer. I'd like to ask each of these individuals if you'll please stand and remain standing, and then we'll congratulate all of you at one time. First, Dr. Steve Dameron is the new dean of the College of Agricultural and Environmental Science. Look at you, you're a good guy, you're right down front. I'm so impressed. He joined Tarleton on July 1st, and before coming to Tarleton, he was the assistant dean of academic programs for Oklahoma State University's College of Agricultural and Natural Sciences. Stay standing, okay? Then we also have with us Dr. Sharonda Macklin. She is the new assistant vice president. There she is, okay. New assistant vice president for the Division of Student Life. Dr. Macklin joined us on August 1st and was most recently the vice president for student affairs and dean of students at McPherson College in Kansas. And then finally, it's a pleasure to welcome the inaugural dean of the new College of Health Sciences and Human Services, Dr. Vimala Pillari. There you are. Dr. Pillari began her duties at Tarleton. Now, wait a minute, guys. You have to let me tell you where she came from. She began on August 15th, and she's coming to us from Clark Atlanta University in Georgia, where she was the dean of the Whitney M. Young Jr. School of Social Work. Please welcome all of these outstanding new leaders. Thank you, guys. Now, I expect our new leaders, particularly, have had a bit of a difficult time finding their way across campus because of the detours, the dust, and the debris from the many, many construction projects on almost every corner of campus. Aren't these terrific? I love the one about Rome myself. That's my personal favorite. So, I have an ask for you here, like a good development officer, Dr. McGregor. As we enter the new year, we ask all of you to be patient as we make the Tarleton campus more beautiful and more functional than it ever has been before. We have several very, very exciting new projects that are underway that are going to transform the academic, the student life, and our athletic programs. One of the examples of that, there's a great design work taking place right now, is the new Memorial Stadium, flipping the stands so that our fans get to face east rather than that west-facing Texas sun. Yeah, that's a good thing, believe me. Other projects are going to add more parking, control our flooding outside our door here. That's going to be solved, right, Ty? Yes. And then improve access across the entire campus. At times, I expect you're not going to believe you can get there from here, because there are going to be some challenging times with construction fences and the like. So my second ask, in addition to being patient, is this. I ask that you help one and all to model civility for our students as the improvements are made in the coming year and years, because no doubt we will be hearing about why this, why that, why then, and why now kinds of things. So help us model that important Tarleton core value. In addition to providing, I think, some great new teaching, research, and office space, the construction is going to also address some of the growing needs of our student body. Obviously, if you've seen some of the residence halls going up, you'll understand what that is all about. And by the way, something that I think most people want to hear as we get close to beginning the academic year, we have, at this moment in time, over 12,800 students at Tarleton and over 2,200 freshmen, the largest freshman class in our history. And I give a great deal of credit to Javier Garza and all of the folks in enrollment management and across the campus for making that happen. And I want to say this too as part of that. It's encouraging that those kinds of increases have taken place even while we've increased the academic standards led by the provost and assuring that the quality of the student coming to Tarleton has improved for the last number of years. But I want to put a footnote to that. So you're not surprised next year because we have so many freshmen with us this year. One of the things that we are doing by design is we're going to try to keep the freshman class at a smaller number than we have had in the last couple of years. So next year we're targeting 2,150, right? Yes. So that's going to be slightly smaller. And so what you need to understand, and this leads to the conversation I want to have with you about student success, is that growth then is more likely to come from retention and from our programs in Fort Worth, Waco, Midlothian, and then our online programs. In our efforts to increase our retention rates, one of the things that we need to recognize is we have to be committed to the success of exceptional students like we had up here. But at the same time, we have to be committed to the success of every student. You know, they would not be entering into the doors if they were not capable. And what we need to do is find out how it is we can help them be successful to get to that endpoint of graduation. So for that to happen, one of the things we have to recognize is the importance of getting off to college with a good start. That first year experience is particularly important. Now, fortunately, we have several years during which we have focused intently on the first year experience for our students. And because of that focus, we're now part of a national higher education effort that aims to increase student success, and it's focused primarily on students from low economic backgrounds, first-generation college goers, and then students of color. The American Association of State Colleges and Universities, or ASCU for short, has selected Tarleton to participate in a 3-year project to improve and sustain, and that's part of the operative word on this, sustain student academic achievement. The project's called Reimagining the First Year Initiative, and it's intended to share, and this is important too, and implement best practices in student success. So it's not only about studying these things and taking the best models from across the United States, but it's about getting to action and really putting some important programs in place. Dr. George Mahaffey, George was here I think 2 or 3 years ago and addressed the university community. He's the ASCU Vice President, and he said at the February launch of this effort that collectively we know what to do. That means the universities across the country, in order to raise retention and graduation rates. Now what we need to do is we need to commit to the actions necessary to make students successful. And so this project is not just about thinking about how to make them successful, but it's actually about putting into place those actions that will make that happen. At Tarleton, we've got a core group of people responsible for implementing the Reimagining the First Year program, but something I truly want you to understand from today is that this is a team effort that requires the commitment of everyone at the university. This is truly a team effort. In some ways, the good news is that we're already ahead of the curve on the Reimagining the First Year program. And part of that, I will stop here to say, here are the members of that first year steering committee, and certainly Dr. Boren and Dr. Murray are really co-champions of this, because you have to have student life and academic affairs together to make these actions real for us. But then a great group of leaders from across the campus and some student input as well into this. But we are somewhat ahead of the curve on this because in 2013 we formed a group called Campus Leaders for Academic and Student Success, or CLASS, Campus Leaders Advocating for Student Success. And CLASS ended up providing 12 recommendations that were then fed into the strategic planning process. And then after they had done their homework, it came up with some great recommendations that have been incorporated into our strategic plan. They were discontinued in 2014. But then this past spring, to coincide with some of that reimagining work, a new committee was formed called Campus Leaders Advocating for Student Success. And if you look at that, yes, it spells class 2 by design. Hopefully it's kind of like tickles in the core values. This is going to be relatively easy for you to remember. Through this group now, we're ramping up even more intentional efforts to focus on student success. The cabinet, deans, assistant and associate vice presidents, and the executive directors form the committee, and they'll meet roughly monthly during the academic year. But again, I want to remind you what I said just a minute ago, that this is a team effort that requires the commitment of everybody at the university for us to implement those actions. So we already have some good indicators. We already have some good indicators of the success of the programs that we've begun to implement. For example, in terms of retention and graduation rates, Tarleton is the best among the regional universities in the A&M system. Retention and graduation rates were the best among the regional universities. A 6-year graduation rate, you can see up here, is ranked in the top 25 nationally. Our freshman class retention rate last year was 89.05. That is a remarkable figure for us, by far the highest that we've ever had. That's spring or fall to spring. And then as of just last Friday, our freshman class persistence rate from fall 2015 to 2016 is actually 72.0%, which beats that old record by a significant amount. So you can see from these numbers, these metrics, I don't want to bore you with a lot of numbers, but I think it's important for you to see that the good work that people have already been doing is indeed paying off. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to have the members of the original class committee, the members of the current class committee, and the members of the Reimagining the First Year. Would any of you that are here, would you all please stand so people know who you are? Provost, Dr. Boren, Stan, yeah, I know deans, vice presidents, and some, yeah, take a look around at you. These people have made an enormous difference. Thank them. Yeah. Well, you're going to help in the future, Steve, all right? You know, our selection to participate in the Reimagining the First Year program confirmed that Tarleton is indeed a recognized leader in providing thoughtful and effective programs related to student success. From our Texan tour, which so many of you participate in, to the first day of class and beyond, we have very many important programs that turn strangers into friends for us, and then new students into Tarleton Texans for life. And so whether or not it's kind of like the post office, rain, heat, hail, snow, whatever, folks here are delivering quality programs at orientation, at transition week, duck camp, Texan camp, and most recently, the move-in over this past weekend. For this past weekend alone, we had over 2,000 students, faculty, staff, and community members help with that move-in. That is a remarkable testimony to the service ethic of this place. That is exemplary service in action. And so I'd like to again have some folks stand. Would everyone here who have been a part of those programs, Texan Tour, Orientation, Duck Camp, Texas Camp, Move-In, Transition Week, and then the upcoming Convocation and Candle Lighting, would you please stand so we can thank you for all you have done to make our students feel at home. Look at this. Thank you, folks. Let me shift gears now. I hope you understand it takes all of you to make our students successful. I hope you understand that we are indeed being successful in that. Now what I want to do, though, is turn and talk a little bit about the centennial celebration that's coming up. You know, it's no surprise to any of you that Tarleton celebrates its history, and it's a place with very deeply rooted traditions. That's a definition in many ways of who we are. John Tarleton, standing out there on the Alumni Island, has brought his legend to life for many of us. We proudly claim the oldest spirit organization. Usually we proudly claim the oldest spirit organization in the state of Texas, in the Purple Poo. We know the stories of the dock, Oscar P., the cannon, candle lighting, silver taps, and the gates. The gates are always open. A very important part of that rich tradition that we have in our history is going to be celebrated in 2017. In January, we're going to begin a year-long celebration of the 100th anniversary of our time as a member of the Texas A&M University system. There are a lot of dates to celebrate that go along with this. The January 1917 visit of delegates from Austin to Stephenville. February 20th, 1917, when the bill to establish John Tarleton Agricultural College passed. March 24th, when the affiliation with Texas A&M and the name change became official. And certainly September of that year, with the opening of the college as part of the Texas A&M system. The Centennial Steering Committee, chaired capably by Darrell Brown, has been planning since 2014. And the committee has found a number of ways, it goes on for pages, to put a centennial touch on a lot of traditional events that we have, while developing at the same time signature events to commemorate this special year. So during the centennial year, we are going to have the opportunity both to look back at our heritage and then at the same time to look forward. You know, anniversaries are important markers for looking back and looking forward at the same time. It's about the past and it's about the future at the same time. So I'd like to thank Darrell Brown and the members of the Centennial Committee. You see them up here? Would you all stand so we can thank you, and if people have questions about what's going on the Centennial, they will know who to find. Members of the Centennial Committee, please stand. Thank you, Darrell. We appreciate you, buddy. When celebrating a centennial like this, it's important, I think, to remember the old adage that we're not good because we're old. We're old because we're good. We're old because we're good. We've been doing good things. And so centennial celebrations are kind of touchstones, if you will, in time when we should take stock of all we have done and, as I said, about where it is that we plan to go. You know, looking back when President James Cox took office in 1913, the school was very heavily in debt at the time, had little to offer students, and therefore there was virtually no revenue coming into this place. That was 1913. And he saw the path forward. How to sustain this place was with what was then called the Texas Agricultural and Mechanical College, so that John Tarleton's dream of access and opportunity for all students could be continued. That's the reason why he did this. Otherwise, there was a high probability the doors would fold. So as we prepare for the centennial with the system, it's important that we ask, where were we back in 1917? And what will we look like possibly in 2117? That's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? But these are the times when we should start to think about those things, or at least the next 5 or 10 years. Well, in 1917, April 6th, a momentous year because the United States declared war against the German Empire. Back then, a loaf of bread cost 9 cents. The average cost of a house was $6,313, and you could buy your brand new car for $360. You can't buy a set of tires for that today, can you? The big inventions of the year, the water heater and the modern day zipper. Yeah, go figure, huh? Experts predicted correctly that Americans would be, by this century, 1 to 2 inches taller, which we are. They anticipated the cell phone by predicting that wireless telephone and telegraph circuits would span the globe. I would never have believed that somebody would predict that. And so while they did pretty well in predicting some of those things, they did miss a few things. For you English majors out there, they predicted that the letters C, X, and Q would no longer be in existence, simply because they're not necessary. And I like this one. They predicted everyone will walk 10 miles a day. Well, that clearly hasn't happened, has it? Although I do think Pokemon is possibly going to change that. They predicted there would be no mosquitoes or flies. Boy, don't we wish, huh? Well, I doubt that any of us could have done any better predictions, but there certainly are some that are trying to do so. Today, BBC and Popular Mechanics has predictions for life in the 22nd century, And they are predicting things like this, some of which seem perfectly feasible. There will be one single currency worldwide. There will be 3 languages in the world. Can you guess them? English, Spanish, Mandarin is what they talk about, yeah. Someone will live to be 150, and digital data is going to be zapped directly into our brains. I'm not sure I'm looking forward to that one. So as we celebrate our centennial, I ask you to think about what our future should be and what it is going to look like. It is a stretch, no doubt, to think out 100 years. But I do encourage you to start thinking about our future, and let's work together to envision how we can be as relevant in 100 years as we are today, or even more relevant then than we are today. In 10 decades, certainly our physical facilities are going to change. You've seen remarkable change in just the last 5 years. And with self-driving cars upon us, who knows what personal transportation is going to be like, but my great hope is that there are going to be something there so that students are dropped off at the door, then the cars disappear, and then they come back and pick them up. I trust that in 100 years, John Tarleton is still going to be standing somewhere on this campus. The color song is heard, the cannon is still in place, and the gates will indeed always be open. In 100 years, I fervently hope that our core values are still writ large across this campus. I expect many of you hear this. I hear it, I want to say every day from a student, or they tweet it, or they put it on Instagram. I love Tarleton. I love Tarleton. I hear that all the time. And sometimes they're talking about the physical space around us and the blend of the old and new, the beauty of this place. Sometimes they're talking about our traditions, the banging of the drum or the silver taps, whatever it might be. But most often, they are talking about people. They're talking about the faculty who inspire them. They're talking about the staff who encourage them. And they're talking about their student peers who make them laugh and volunteer beside them and certainly share their dreams. They love what collectively makes up the spirit of Tarleton, the spirit of Tarleton. The feel of the place when you walk around the campus saying hi, howdy, hey, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is that people greet each other with, not walking on the grass, wearing purple, knowing that you're part of something bigger, something lasting. That's what students love about this place. It's in this spirit that students connect to one another and help them define themselves. And it's for that reason it's so important for us to be focused on their success. So I hope as we go forward, the great spirit of Tarleton will inform and define the next century for this university. I'm looking forward to working with each of you to keep the Tarleton spirit alive, to foster the success of our students, to celebrate the centennial and what other great projects that might come along. Now, to help keep the Tarleton spirit alive and our focus on students, what I'd like to do is conclude the General Assembly with the singing of the color song by the members, a small group, of the Tarleton Chamber Choir under the direction of Dr. Troy Robertson. So Dr. Robertson, where is he? Ah, there he is. If you and your representatives of the choir would come forward, and as they make their way to the stage, like at commencement, I ask that you all rise. And gentlemen, please remove your caps if you have any. Yeah. Oh, this is a bigger group than I thought. I'm impressed. I thought we had 14. Wow, you found a lot more.
We got our freshmen up here.
Ah, the freshmen, good. Now, to our great benefit, in addition to Dr. Robertson, the choir is joined today by Dr. Heather Hawk, who recently took first place honors. Well, let me tell you what she took first place honors in. She took first place honors in the International Meistersinger Vocal Competition in Graz, Austria. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back and Happy New Year. Now please join the chamber choir in the singing of our alma mater.
Oh.